Welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show on 94.7 The Pulse. Music, interviews, news, and, well, Two Blokes Chatting. Now, here are the two blokes.
Good morning, Jordan.
Morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure, young fella. We are sort of thinking a lot about you and your ilk because education-wise, for many, this is the most important year of your life, where all the other years have been preparation for this. Those have got a strong academic career in mind. That important score that you're chasing, it's all about that in that last month or two of the year. Unusual times for you. How have you been coping? First of all, we'll deal with you personally. How have you been coping with the extra pressure of finding that home study time?
Yeah, look, it's definitely seen a drop in my ability to do work, all that sort of stuff. I've got a family of 7, so I've actually got 4 younger brothers running around the house, and they're also all doing distance school as well. So it's noisy and all that sort of stuff. It's a bit more difficult to study and all that.
And the other important thing is the teachers. A lot of Year 12 students talk to me about the amazing support and mentoring they get from their teachers, who are well aware of the importance of the year. Some connect really, really well, and the teachers have been a great help. Their ability to do that now online, it puts some restriction on them. But what sort of a relationship have you got with your important teachers, and how has that relationship developed during these times?
Yeah, well, it is a bit difficult because, they're trying to communicate and do the best they can to help us, but it's an online medium. They're not used to it, and so they're all just still trying to figure this all out. I find a lot of the time if I'm trying to contact them or I've got a question, I might get a response 4 or 5 hours later, but that's 4 or 5 hours of me still not knowing what to do, when normally I can just walk up and ask them the question face to face.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too that my daughter's a teacher at the other end of the spectrum. She teaches grade prep. At least with you guys, you've got the capacity to have the conversation and understand the fact that, because there are 7 people using the internet at your house, everything's going to be a little bit slower. It must be really tough for the teachers to have 25 people grabbing at them all the time in one class, and then 50 minutes later have a different 25 kids trying to grab at them at the time. It must put enormous strain on them, and they must just be exhausted if my daughter's anything to go by.
Yeah, it's a very hard time for teachers. Have you got good relationships with some of them that almost like brother-sister relationship? Because I know some students talk about the fact they get really quite connected to teachers. Have you got 1 or 2 particular favourites that you lean on more?
Yeah, I got 1 or 2 particular favourites, particularly my English lit teacher, who's, helping me a lot. I'm able to send him essays and that sort of stuff I'm working on prior, and he's pointing out the different bits in that and giving me a lot of help with that.
Now, the third part of the equation is the parents. Now, the difficulty parents have of figuring out should they just do what they normally do and not get too involved in the education, and some fall into the trap of thinking because you're homeschooling, then they need to play the role of teacher, and probably, well, in some cases might interfere with the balance. How's that relationship going with parents?
Look, to be honest, Mum and Dad have actually done pretty well. I mean, it's good to actually have them checking up every now and then, because I have the entire internet sitting here at my fingertips. I'm going to get distracted, start watching videos, play a couple of games in between. So I think it's actually good that they're coming in, just checking up on me every now and then. It makes me able to focus back and get my work done.
I think the other thing too, Jordan, that I would be interested in knowing is, back when I was a teacher, certainly pre-internet days, one of the things that I noticed as kids got towards year 11, 10, 11, 12, that sort of post-compulsory years, there was a lot of social, physical interaction. The girls would turn up at school and they give each other a big hug and all that sort of stuff. That isolation from your mates, even though, yes, you can see them on a Zoom screen, how much of an impact is that having, not having them, you can go and kick the footy at lunchtime or that sort of stuff?
I reckon that's had the biggest impact so far. I mean, we're social animals. We need to be able to interact with each other, to talk, to do all that sort of stuff. And, normally just having that connection with mates, it helps get you through. You're able to bounce ideas off them and that sort of stuff. If you're confused about just life stuff, when I can't do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, I as I said, I was a school teacher. I taught physics about 100 years ago, and I just can't even get it through my head what that would be like to be in that process and trying to work with the young guys and girls who are missing that particular social interaction, and how you could, create an environment where that sort of interaction still continues to happen.
Yeah, it's really difficult.
Yeah, and in terms of the opportunity to go out and do exercise, one of the important parts of going to school is, playing a bit of school footy or school soccer or school tennis or whatever, and for that, you do training a couple of times a week, and you might walk to school. Are you putting something in place that enables you to continue to exercise and stay physically on the ball?
Yeah, I've got a little podcast thing set up, so I just pop that in. I go for a run every now and then, just to keep me moving whenever I feel, stuck while studying, that sort of stuff. So I just pop up, go for a run, come back and use that to, keep me moving.
Yeah, that's good.
Jordan, pre-school year, did you have your mind set on a particular score you were aiming at to get you to where you needed to go in the next phase of your education or working life, and do you feel like you're on track?
Yeah, look, I had a pretty high score. I was looking to get, above the 80, that sort of area. But now I'm having to seriously reconsider and just create a plan that, hey, if I don't get the score I want, how am I going to move forward in this time?
Yeah, because I think one of the only positive that I can think of for Year 12s at the moment is everyone's in it together. So because the ATAR score, or whatever it's called this year, is a ranking, because it's going to impact on everybody, it might shuffle it a bit, but everyone's going to be similarly impacted. I guess that's got to be better than, say, being the one kid who gets glandular fever and is out of school for 3 months.
Well, I guess, yeah, you definitely have that side of it, but you also have some people who are an only child, which means they don't have the same distractions and interruptions.
Sure.
So some people have all those resources at their fingertips. There's other ones that are a bit more stretched during this time. So it affects everyone differently, I guess.
And those who have happened to, by sheer fluke, have a maths teacher for a mum or dad.
Exactly.
Yeah. Neil, this might be more of a question for you, being in the education system. Do you think there's any likelihood that the end score result will be adjusted in the minds of potential university placements or work placements to say there's a 3 to 5 point leeway?
Well, I think it will, but again, because it's a ranking, apart from the differentiation that Jordan's talking about, where, if you're an only child, you've got a different situation to someone who's got 5 people in the house or whatever, taking that part out of it, because it's a ranking, everyone will move together. So, there are different years where the absolute scores are much higher than others. I can remember the year I did Year 12, which is just about the turn of the 19th century. There was a really, really difficult English exam the year before, I think, and everyone's English score had plummeted. But because everybody's score had plummeted, it was okay because they just moderated the scores. So
but
I suspect that would happen.
My thought was if Jordan's career option was, let's say, physiotherapy, and their minimum was 79,
yeah.
Are they going to say, well, to get into physiotherapy, we'll now allow 75?
No, see, 79 is a ranking. So it's where you sit on a list of 1 to 100. So you'll still be you still might be at 79 in the listing rather than an absolute score. So it's not the absolute score that's important;
right.
It's the ranking more importantly.
So Jordan, have you got flexible options for what's going to happen in your life in 2021 that gives you a bit of breathing space now, and are you comfortable with different options rather than having to say, oh well, I'll have to settle for something I don't really want to do? Have you got some potential there?
Yeah, look, I wanted to go and do university course. I was thinking of doing a Bachelor of Commerce and that sort of stuff. But because of the nature of it, it's commerce, it's business, I did realise that I could sort of just skip the university path and just go work straight in the private sector. So I do have that sitting there should I not get the score I want and have to compromise maybe on the course and that sort of stuff. I can just go work straight into there. But like you were saying, someone who might want to do physiotherapy, they don't really have that luxury.
Yeah, it's a good point.
But one thing, and this is my words of encouragement, Jordan, before we let you go, because my son went to a school in Melbourne, and at the Year 12 dinner, they brought a guy in who I think was an old boy from the school, and he was the Chief Justice of Australia, or Victoria or something. He was a very, very senior member of the legal fraternity, and he'd started his working life as an apprentice mechanic. And the message to the kids that were in the room was, if you don't, because he'd always wanted to be a lawyer but didn't have the marks, and he decided that what he wanted the kids to know was, if the obvious door isn't the one that opens, go through the other door and then work out how you get across to the other one. And it's a really sound piece of advice.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come much broader than apprentice mechanic becoming the Chief Justice of Victoria or whatever it was. So it's a really important thing to keep in your mind.
Yeah, thanks.
That's all right.
Good on you, mate. Thank you very much for your time, and more importantly, good luck to you, your family. And when we say family, there's quite a lot of you chipping away for that desk space or couch space
And
with a
internet,
laptop on
internet
there.
bandwidth.
Yeah, all of those things.
Exactly.
So we're really thinking of you. Good luck. You sound like you're a pretty well-balanced young bloke, so I reckon you'll go all right. But we appreciate you uplifting us this morning and enlightening us also about life for a Year 12 student.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Good on you, Jordan. Thanks
It's a
very
pleasure.
much.